Good morning. Now, you guys know 3 main things. I'm going to repeat them all throughout because that's what we do. First of all, math lessons for living education. What is this video about? That's what it's about. A Charlotte Mason inspired math curriculum that is blowing away the math market because there's just nothing else like it. And we're going to talk about it today and what sets it apart. Secondly, if you are interested, you can get it. There's a link above where you can take the placement test. Scroll down until you see a big button that says placement test. That's where you're going to go and find out which level you want to place your child at. It's not graded, it's level based so that you can find where your child is best going to fit and help them master the concepts or fill in any gaps that they may have. Also, if you do end up purchasing, there is a coupon code above that you can use for your purchase to help save you a little bit because, you know, every bit counts. All right, I'm going to open up my video here so that I can see your guys' questions. Okay, so I was really hoping to get Angela on with me so you could see her face in the corner. But alas, once again, though we tried, it is not working. We're gonna have to test it out, I think, sometime on our personal pages because that needs to happen. But she's going to be replying to your guys' comments in the comments below as well. So I'm going to give my own personal take. There's going to be times I'm going to actually defer to her and I'm going to ask her the questions. I have a list of questions you guys have given me on my Instagram as well as over on Facebook and wherever else I've posted it in the event. So we're going to be using these questions, and then what I'll do is once I've given an overview and gone through these questions, I'll go through the live questions in today's video. So grab yourself some coffee. It's going to be fast-paced, it's going to be intense, and it's going to be fun. All right, I know. Give us Canadians some love. I'm giving you love from Canada. It's a winter wonderland outside, but you have to buy the curriculum. Get the PDF. If you guys are in Canada, get the PDF version so that you can download it, use it for multiple kids, and print it off at Staples. It's the best and cheapest option for you. It's cheaper than even getting it in Amazon here in Canada. So just saying. Free tip of the day for Canadians. All right, so here we go. I'm going to start off with the overview. So here's how the overview is going to work. Charlotte Mason inspired math. If you are not familiar with Charlotte Mason, it is a philosophy of education based off an actual person who came up with this philosophy of education. And it basically takes in the idea of educating the whole child, not just their mind, because we focus in education so much on the brain. Let's focus on the brain. Let's educate our children. The reality is your child has to choose if they want to be educated. Anyone else have a child that doesn't seem to be choosing to be educated? So we want to educate the whole child. We want to teach to and inspire the whole child, because if we're not inspiring our children all around, then they're not going to be retaining what we're teaching them because it's just random facts that mean nothing to them. So the idea behind it is you'll see Charlotte Mason homeschoolers getting out there involved in nature, stories, reading together, read alouds, copy work, narration. It's this whole experience of education rather than a workbook that you work through. So that is the idea behind a Charlotte Mason curriculum, and we're going to see those philosophies embedded all throughout this program. So as you can see, I have all 6 levels in front of me. This is a Christian-based math curriculum. Okay, that's really important for those of you that absolutely don't want any Christian content. This is full of it. So this is a Christian-based math curriculum, first off. Secondly, it only goes up to grade 6. I'm going to say this right now, or level 6. Okay, I guess you could use it for an older child. If they're struggling, you might want to go back. But it only goes to level 6. It is not going any higher. It is an elementary-based math program. That's what it is. So we'll talk about what you can use for the later grades for those of you that have been asking, because that question has been popping up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up and I'm going to kind of read through a bit of the scope and sequence of each one and then show you a picture of the beginning and a picture of the end. And what I want you to understand is that if you, afterwards I'll post the link to the actual event page where I was talking about this. And in that event, I'm going to create a separate post for each level and you'll see a higher resolution photo of these levels. So if you want to see the scope and sequence in depth, then you want to go to that event and you can scroll through and see. So I will make sure to post that link after. But for now, let's just take a quick poke. Poke is not a word. Wow. Homeschooling. right here. Peek. We're gonna take a quick peek. Okay, level 1. So scope and sequence. Are you ready? I'm not gonna read them all because, you know, we have lives. You're starting off with learning your numbers, okay? They're gonna be identifying numbers 0 to 9. They're learning how to write them, they're learning how to form them. This would be, you know, really good for kindergarten, grade 1, depending on where your child is at. There is a placement test, like I said, online. You go to patterns, you go to circles and shapes, you work with place value. Level 1 is really focused on place value. And if one of my kids pop in, which this has probably been long enough that they will, I'll ask them to bring me my iPad because I forgot about that. I was going to show you a really neat app that you can use. So you're going to build your own place value village, so your kids are kinesthetically hands-on, getting to see and build using a place value village so they can see it in action, not just on paper. They learn the symbols, plus, minus, equals. They learn how to add. They learn how to subtract. And it goes into time, skip counting, tally marks, solving for an unknown. They're learning about skip counting by 2s, 5s, review of numbers. They learn all the way up to 100. So it really is a comprehensive program that's going to take them all the way from number identification all the way to telling time, knowing their shapes, knowing their numbers, understanding place value, as well as addition and subtraction. And you guys, place value is something that I think often can be a gap. So what happens in math is that we push our kids along and they don't fully understand place value. So now when we get into decimals and fractions and all different sorts of things, they're not grasping this concept and it's affecting them in all their other math concepts. So let's take a look at like the first page, exercise 1, day 1. They're going to be learning their numbers and how to form them. And we have to take our time with that. It's done through copywork, as you can see, because a lot of kids do things backwards or wrong. And every week starts off in all the programs with a story. So in the beginning levels, you're going to read it with the kids. In the later levels, they read it independently, which brings in connections from the real world around them. So kids are actually building connections with these concepts rather than just having to memorize them. They're understanding how these concepts look in real life. Okay, then you would have 5 days of worksheets, lessons to work through to reinforce the concept that you learned in the story. So that's kind of the basis of it. I'm going to skip forward to the end so you can see this is fully the end. Sorry. This is day 148. But it does show you they're already learning true fractions and time. So for those of you that are thinking this is like kindergarten level, this is definitely more of a grade 1 level. It is recommended for kids ages 5 to 7, and that's kind of the basis of what they're going to be learning. Okay, so that's level 1. Let's go quickly to level 2, and then I'm going to get into the questions. Level 2, what they're learning. And the reason I'm going through this, you guys, is because a lot of the questions is this comprehensive enough? So I want to make sure you understand what's included in each level. Level 2, we're reviewing. The first section of the book is going through review. We're going into money, skip counting, addition, double digits, plus double digits, measurement, perimeter, telling time to the minute, place value to the thousandths, addition carrying to the tens place, subtraction borrowing, regrouping, thermometers, bar graphs, line graphs, pounds, ounces, measurement, subtracting money, adding money, word problems. Yeah, okay, so that gives you a basic overview. Let's look on the beginning of the program. I'm going to take you here. Okay, so this is level 2, recommended for around grade 2 and for around ages 6 to 8. And then I'm going to skip forward to the end of the book to give you an idea of kind of where they will be. That's graphs, word problems. Sorry, I'm just trying to find a good indicator page here. Measurements. Okay, here where they're learning about subtracting money. Okay? So let's move forward to level 3. Don't worry, you guys, I'm going to catch up on comments as well after. Don't forget, if you're new and just joining on, Math Lessons for Living Education, coupon code above, and share, comment, engage, because I will be choosing one person from this video to win one level of this math program. All right, level 3 starts off, they're reviewing, and then it goes into column addition, larger numbers subtracting, rounding, larger amounts of money, division, multiplying, area, fractions, place values through the millions, estimation, measurement concepts, introducing solving for unknowns, which, as you guys know, when we say solving for unknowns, we're building the base for algebra, Roman numerals, estimation, all that kind of stuff, and then review. Okay, so level 3, the beginning is this one. And somebody said it took their child 5 minutes to do level 3 math, which I'll go through when I go through the questions, but definitely takes my kids longer than 5 minutes. So we'll talk about time. It's not as long. It's not like it's taking them an hour for math, which I love. They can generally, if they put their mind to it, they can get it done in, 20 minutes-ish. Fill in the blanks. Equals. I'm just trying to find a good. Here we go. Okay, so level 3 towards the end. All right, level 4. Level 4, what they're going to cover is review, new fraction concepts, adding and subtracting like denominators. So now they're adding and subtracting fractions. Multiplication, carrying using 11 and 12s, geometric concepts, steps of division with no remainders, larger multiplication, division, checking division, division with a remainder, so we're talking long division here, guys. Metric units of measure, mixed numbers, adding and subtracting with like denominators, equivalent fractions, decimals and fractions, relationship between fractions, decimals, and percents, geometry. Okay, so that's kind of an overview of what's included. Now, I'll show you, my son started off here, the level 4. Okay, and obviously I've marked this. So it starts off with review. So if this looks easy, that's just because it's reviewing, right? We're reviewing all the concepts that you would already need to know. And then towards the end, I'll show you this one. So you're dealing with fractions, addition, subtraction, all that kind of stuff. Okay, level 4. Now we're into the last 2 levels here. Level 5, scope and sequence. Level 5 starts off with review, and now we're working with 2-digit divisors, factoring, common factors, greatest common factor, proper and improper fractions, changing improper fractions, sums containing improper fractions, least common multiples, finding a common denominator, adding fractions and mixed numbers with uncommon denominators, subtracting fractions with uncommon denominators, adding mixed numbers of, just basically fraction with uncommon denominators, adding, subtraction, really mastering that. Multiplying fractions, divisibility rules and dividing fractions, dividing decimals, making change, and then review. So, I'm not listing every single thing, guys, just an overview. So in the beginning, this is kind of where they're reviewing what they're expected to kind of know. At the beginning of level 5, which is about a grade 5 level, or for ages 9 to 11. And by the end, this is around what they're doing. And remember, this is still story-based, so they're reading their story, but they're doing it all independently. And it's just helping them to build connections with the lessons that they're doing. Now, level 6 is the only one that comes with a teacher's guide. And the reason for that is because lesson instruction is built right into the books. So for level 1 and level 2, lesson instruction is built in, it's written to the teacher so that you can read it and do it with your child, because children who are in grade 1 and 2 are not reading independently, and you have to do it with them anyways. So it's written to you. Level 3 starts off being written to the child. So now they can start to do it more independently, and there's an answer key at the back of the book. The pages are all perforated, so you can rip that out if you want to. Now level 4, 5, 6, they're all written for the child, but level 6 is the only one that has a separate teacher's guide. So in the teacher's guide, it has your student quizzes, also the only one that has quizzes. It has your weekly lesson schedule and your answer key and solutions manual. So here's an example. I'll just give you an example of a quiz at the beginning and a quiz at the end, because that will give you a good indication. Okay. Quiz at the beginning, sorry. And let's go through to a quiz towards the end. The word problem ones aren't going to show you a huge amount because it's just words, but they're covering a lot in those word problems. Okay, so this is level 6, okay? Now level 6, scope and sequence, and I'm going to then go right into questions and answers, is they're working with whole numbers, averaging, factors, fractions, review of fraction concepts, adding and subtracting, multiplying, dividing fractions. It's advanced fractional concepts now that we're going into decimal basics, percents, savvy shopping, how it brings it into the real world. And I did one of those. If you want to watch a funny video, go back and watch where I do one from level 6, because woo, it really brings it into the real world. Geometry, maps, graphs, charts, units of measure. So let's look at in here where we're at beginning to end, and then we're going to go into the question and answer time. I feel like this is really important because the main question that I'm seeing repeated over and over is this comprehensive enough? So I really want you guys to understand how these all work, and then I'm going to get into how comprehensive they are. Okay, here we go. Question time. And like I said, I'm going to be coming back and looking at the comments as well. Here we go. On Instagram, I'm going to name your Instagram name because that's all I have. And if you're watching, you'll know your Instagram name. Becca's Domestic Bliss asked, how much work on money is there? Most of what we're talking about in these levels is adding and subtracting and multiplying with money. Where it gets into the actual look of money is, I believe, in level 2. Possibly a little bit in level 1 as well. So there is some, just like there has to be with any math. For me, I'm in Canada, so I think you were saying you were in Australia, if I remember correctly, and so that's always an issue with you with US curriculums. And I'm the same. Canadian curriculums, I mean, I want it to be Canadian money, but the reality is there's not too much difference for me in the size of it, and I just bring in our money and I lay it on the table and they go for it that way. So hopefully that helps, but most of it, what you're dealing with once they understand the visual concept, is adding and subtracting and all that different kind of stuff with money, which should be able to be applied to no matter what you're doing. Okay, so 5 Grubbies, which I love, your Instagram handle, said, is my daughter in kindergarten and using the grade 1 book? Yes, she is. The reason for that is because she's a keener and she is absolutely beyond ready. Now, I showed you a picture from, that was her book for the level 1, and you'll see that her 3s are backwards, her 7s are backwards, often her 5s are backwards, so she's ready for the content. The written work is challenging for her. She constantly gets it backwards. But here's a little news flash, so does my 8-year-old. My 8-year-old constantly gets his 7 backwards, his 5s, and his 3s. So I don't think that's necessarily a new thing, and that wouldn't be a reason that I wouldn't use the program. As far as content and her ability, her pencil grasp, all those different things, she's more than ready. She loves the stories, she grasps the concepts very well, and so we dove into it. My 4-year-old will be 5 in the spring. She would be eligible technically if I was using that same philosophy to try it. She's nowhere near ready. So again, that has to be based on your child. My 5-year-old is more, even though she's kindergarten, more at a grade 1 level in everything, her reading, everything. So I wouldn't take that as like an indicator that this is a kindergarten program. It's grade 1 content, but it is working for my kindergartner because she's advanced. Okay, Pink Lola 37 said there is only tests for level 6, and she wishes that there were tests for level 3 to 5. Now, I'm going to give my own take on this, but I would love to hear, Angela, if you could pop on that question and respond with what would you recommend for parents that want more of that review, that want to feel like they're testing their children. So I'm going to talk about narration and how that plays in, but I would really love to hear your response to that. If you have any recommendations for testing or for a parent to feel that confidence that their child is fully grasping. So we're going to wait because I know she's going to be tip-tapping away, and we're going to wait for her response on that, and then I'm going to come back to it next. Okay, Fideller and Mommy, which hopefully I'm saying these right, guys, said, would one level last a whole school year? Yes. One level will last an entire school year. Let me open it up to level 3. Okay, so there's 36 lessons. So every lesson, sorry, I'm so distracted. I'm waiting. I'm gonna put this here. There's 36 lessons, so you would do one lesson a week. So you're gonna read the story at the beginning of the week, new concept, and then you're gonna go through into your daily worksheets. So hopefully that answers that. It is enough for an entire year. It's a full year curriculum. In this, you don't have to buy 5 different things. You just need to buy this, right? Win-win. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. Level 6. I'm gonna help tackle this question here and for all. Level 6 and level 6. Here's what I did. The questions I'll go through, I've heard they have a low grade level. High level math, are they prepared? Does it adequately prepare children for higher math? Upper level math, what do you do past level 6? How are they prepared? I've heard it's not thorough enough. Okay, over and over and over and over again. So I'm gonna answer all your questions at once. Here we go. Here's what I did. I went on to, first of all, what I would personally recommend, what I probably will use unless I see, I've got a few years yet, maybe some new math is going to pop up, but from what I see, I really liked the idea of teaching textbooks, but I felt like my children weren't getting a mastery approach and they were missing so many things. So this has been filling in so many gaps and is building a mastery approach, which I am way preferring, and that's why we are using this curriculum. But for higher levels, from what I can see, that seems to be probably what we will go to. Either that, possibly Math UC. It might be hard to jump back into, I'm not sure. For those of you that were asking what I'm going to use for higher level, not 100% certain, but that's probably the direction that I'm going right now, is teaching textbooks. So what I did is I went onto their site and I looked at their placement test for grade 7. Grade 7 would be what you would do after level 6. And I printed it. And I compared the questions of what they should know before going into level 7 with what they are covering in level 6. Par, completely, point for point. In fact, I also went and printed the pre-algebra grade 8 teaching textbooks quiz. And honestly, everything that I am seeing here is here. So is your child prepared for upper level math? Go and do the same thing I did. Go and print off the test. Okay, so here's a page from the placement test for the grade 8 teaching textbooks. Okay? Then if I go to math here, you can clearly see them dividing with fractions, with mixed fractions, multiplying, they're doing adding decimals, we're multiplying decimals here. And then the division that they're giving, I don't even see division here. Oh, 44.45 divided by 3.5. There's a much larger division covered in this one. And solve and check for the unknown. So take a look at this. Solve and check for the unknown. See it right here? if you can. I'll post it afterwards if I can find it again. And then here you can see the same things are covered in the level 6, and we're not even at the end of this program yet. So that question, I mean, and Angela can talk more to it about the approach and the design and all those different things. But I can tell you from a homeschool mom that's just saying, is my child prepared? It's pretty easy to tell. I went and printed off placement tests. I looked at the content. Everything that my child will need to know up to grade 8 is covered in the grade 6. And if you go and you look at the placement test for level 1, grade 2, grade 3 at teaching textbooks or other comparable math curriculum companies, you will find it is comparable with the scope and sequence that I showed you or told you about in these math programs. So, again, I have to clarify that because I feel like this question is the main question that I'm being asked. Is my child prepared? Is this enough? Yes, it is enough. It is enough. It is enough. And by doing less, your child's going to retain more than when you give them so much information and they're hammered down that they can't retain what they're learning. It means nothing to them and they hate math. As opposed to, let's give you a small amount, let's teach it in such a way that you master it, and therefore you only have to do this smaller portion, and yet all the same content is being covered, and you're well prepared for any other math curriculum that you're going into. Okay? Mic drop. Okay, so, I'm passionate about that idea, because that idea of people feeling like they have to do so much. It's a huge problem in the homeschool community. And you know where it comes from is our own experience with school, and we just can't get over it. The public school expectations, the idea that our kids need to be bogged down with all these language arts and writing and reading and, you know, all those things, yes, of course, are important, but there's a way to do it without that much. It does not have to be that much. Okay. Preach. I know. See, my hands are going. I'm preaching. Okay. Simmer down. Nikki W. Mullis asked, does the curriculum come with DVDs? No, it does not. But it doesn't need it. You're going to read the story, which is engaging, and then they're going to do the lesson. And the older kids are going to do it all independently. Okay, I'm going to skip through all the upper level math questions because I definitely covered that. Let's see. Spiral or mastery, Paula asked. I found that interesting because I would say mastery approach because it's fully, you're mastering the concepts. But I was watching some of the responses from other people and I saw that Randy had commented, and he's from Master Books, which is the publishing company that published the new rendition of this. That's what else I was going to say. And I don't have a pen or I would write it down because I'll forget. Okay, he had said that somebody had reviewed it in the education school world and said that it was both. Because basically it's a mastery approach of we're going to master this concept together with the spiral approach of review built right in. So as you're mastering, you're constantly reviewing, and then you master something else, but you're constantly reviewing what you've learned. So it brings in the best of both rather than being one or the other, which is awesome, right? You don't have to choose. You can have your cake and eat it too. That's what I was going to say. See, and I've already forgotten. I'll remember. Not thorough enough, which I've addressed. How does Charlotte Mason differ from public school? Public school, if you're looking at homeschool styles, is traditional learning. Traditional learning of what our culture tells us learning needs to be, where it's bookwork, and you sit down and you just do all this bookwork and all these worksheets, and that's what you do. You sit at your desk and you do your bookwork and you're tested. Whereas Charlotte Mason is different. Charlotte Mason is let's learn through life. Let's find ways of helping this speak to you all around. Let's make it enjoyable. Let's make it a relational learning. And that's what this math brings into it, that relational concept of learning. And I was going to say something else about that. Testing. Testing, you guys. My own 2 cents on testing, and I know that Angela would agree with me here because it's built right into this. The Charlotte Mason concept of testing is narration. And what we mean when we say narration is that your child has to explain to you the concept. If I work with my mathematically challenged daughter and I talk to her about place value, and she's doing place value. She's doing it correctly. She can say a number, 1,362. So the understanding is there, but is the mastery there? If I gave her a test, she would get it right because she would write that number correctly, or she would understand the place value. But if I say to her, tell me why you pronounce that. Why do you say 1,000? How do you know what each of those numbers represents? What is place value? She can't tell me because she hadn't mastered place value. Did she know it? Yeah, she kind of knew it and was practicing it, but had she mastered it? Now, if I'd given her a test, I never would have known that. It's only through narration and it's built right into the program because it will say, have your child narrate to you the connection between division and multiplication. What's the connection between those? That division is basically just finding the missing number if you already know your multiplication, right? So it's finding these connection points. If your child can't say that because they haven't fully mastered what is multiplication and what is division, then they're doing it, but they haven't mastered the concept. So rather than testing our kids, which can bring stress and anxiety to your child, can make them feel like they're failing, and it is not the best way of finding and identifying where your child is at, we use narration, which helps us fully see in a very quick amount of time. It's fast. I don't need to set no timer and do no 20-minute quiz. I can ask my child a question, and based upon their answer or lack thereof, I can very quickly identify, okay, you've mastered this, but you're missing this. There's a missing point here that you're not grasping. We need to reinforce this. I need to do that part of your lesson with you for a little while. We need to go back to using our place value village so that you can really understand the concept behind this, because I want you to master it. That's my 2 cents about for the people that are concerned about testing, and again, if my child is doing enough, because in this program they're narrating throughout. They are, because they're mastering it. One of the things that when Angela and I were talking about this, of is this enough, and how do we know that this is going to be enough, is that this has a much longer track record than what people think. People think this is a brand new program, and it just came out, and because it's becoming so popular, it's hitting the world kind of thing, and people are thinking, well, it's new, it's not really tested, how do we know that it's enough? But the reality is this is not a new program. This was published, Angela, correct me if I'm wrong, but in 2010, Angela published it. It's just that it's now been picked up by Master Books and is being reformatted and pushed out again and published under Master Books as the publisher. So it's been re-edited, there's a new version of it, and it's awesome, color, bright, engaging, but the program itself was already there, and it has just testimonial after testimonial after testimonial of children that it's worked for that have used it all the way through. So if you're concerned about that, keep that in your mind. The cost of printing compares to buying the books. If you're in the US, it's way better to buy the books. I mean, that couple dollar difference, printing is way more than that. But if you are in Canada, then I would recommend, it's probably going to cost you, if you do it in black and white, it's probably going to cost you about, I don't know, $8 to $10 or whatever to print it, and that's going to be way less than your shipping costs. So that's why I say PDF, use the coupon code, and then print it at Staples if you're in Canada. Okay, so here are his flashcards that he made. So the same idea of he wrote a story for each one, and then he colored it and he illustrated it, and you write the entire math fact this way so that they're memorizing the whole math fact rather than just parts of it. And then on the other side, you write it up and down. So again, visually, when he sees that, he's going to do it like that because he's seeing it both directions. Okay, here's another one that he made. I know you can't really see super well. You can see his coloring though, right? There were 7 hummingbirds and 2 bears, and there was 9 mooses, and the mooses won. It's all about them building connection with those numbers though, and once he colored this and did it, you guys, oh my goodness, his retention on these is crazy. So there's the flashcards. Are there some kind of hands-on project? Yes, there are. There's a storyline that it follows, and there's hands-on projects. In Math 3, in the beginning, they are making, for time, I don't know if you guys ever saw where I did an entire week I think I did it with level 2. I did an entire week with Math Lessons for Living Education, and we pulled out, and he was understanding time, okay, the concept of time. And so we made an entire poster for it where we drew out circles, and it was included in here. It told us what to do. And it said, take a poster board and draw out 12 circles on each side, and they had to make the clock of 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. One side was AM, one side was PM, and then he had to draw pictures of what he was doing at each of those times. He rolled that up, took it with him everywhere he went, called it his life plan from whatever that show is. And he loved it, and he fully grasped the concept. He understands time better than any of my other kids because he did this project. So yes, there are hands-on projects included. It's a story-based learning that breaks it down. Even when they introduced word problems, I was blown away because before we even got into solving word problems, we first talked about word problems and the steps that we should go through of writing down the different numbers or circling the different numbers that we're talking about, looking for clue words like how many or what's the difference of are we going to add or subtract. It broke it down for us so when we got into word problems, it wasn't this huge hard thing. It was, okay, we have a clear step-by-step process we're going to work through. Yeah, teaching textbook is expensive. The thing is, that's why I say, like, as far as what I'm going to use moving forward once we're past level 6, at this point, there were things that I really loved about it, but I just found that as far as the foundation, what was happening was we'd done almost an entire year of it, and then we kind of took a break for summer and we went back to it, and my daughter had so many gaps. She hadn't mastered. She had been doing it, but she hadn't mastered it. And so we were struggling then moving forward because there were so many gaps in her learning. So because of that, this made a huge difference for us, and we have to continue with this specifically for her because she just has so many gaps, and we have to go through it really slowly so that she can help to reinforce and build that mastery, because there's no point pushing them ahead, you guys. There's no point in keeping up. If your kids aren't there, if they're not mastering it, then we are failing our kids by pushing them ahead for the sake of being at the same grade level as their peers. My 2 cents. Talina, you're terrified of teaching math. Yeah, seriously, you want to laugh, go watch my mom tries to do her child's math. I did the grade 6 one, and I'm glad I didn't do a fractions one. I think I did that specifically because I would have failed. You feel like it's teaching me in a way you never learned myself. Exactly, I love that. Yeah, with unschooling, I think this works really, really well because the idea behind unschooling is child-directed learning or delight-directed learning, or having your child be interested in it and passionate about it, not just giving our children busy work for the sake of doing it. And because of the story concepts built into this, it is engaging and your kids will want to do it and therefore retain it so much more because it's not this huge battle to get them to do their math. Yes, it won't be an issue to switch to teaching textbooks. I mean, like I said, I did 2 placement tests and they are well prepared to go straight into it. So what I found was, so this curriculum will walk you through how to build your own place value village with beans. You don't need to spend a whole lot of money on manipulatives, right? It's everything that you have around your house. But what I found was, my space is so small in here. It's like this little nook room, and I have no space that I'm working with. Plus, my kids were playing with the beans a lot. So I was contemplating how to continue to use something that was I didn't have a lot of space for and was making a huge mess. And I found this really simple app, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it because of glare, but it's called Place Value. And it doesn't go to thousands, so it's not perfect, but it has ones, tens, and hundreds. I don't know if you can see it there. And basically what you do, I'll try to turn it down for glare, is you tap 1 and it puts the number up there, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And you'll see once I get to 10, it turns red. I don't know if you can tell that that's red. So that means that it can't fit, so I need to move it over to the tens house. Now I've got 1 10, 0 ones. So they could actually write it down. They could keep their chart, which looks like, I'm gonna see if I have it here. I think I've ripped it out of all my levels. But the place value chart, they could take it out. Here we go. and they could be writing it on their place value chart at the same time as they're building it with the dots. And then when they're done, or you want to reset, you just swipe it up and it clears it. Isn't that cool? So you can either do this and build a number to see it, okay, 144, or you could have them build it and count all the way up to that number if they really need to grasp the concept where you're building all the way from ones and then a 10 and then building. And then when you have 10 tens, it'll tell you that's too many. And 10 tens, you got to move it over to the hundreds house. Isn't that cool? So it was 97 cents or something like that. It's not perfect, but it's a neat solution if your child's struggling with place value. Carla, you love it so much. What other materials would you recommend to use with this? A learning clock. It's all built into here, so they make their own clocks. You can get a learning clock. I mean, they're like $6 on Amazon that you could try, where they can build it along with the lessons. It's not necessary though. Everything that you need is at the back. There's a manipulative section, and you would rip out and you can laminate or just use, and you can, reinforce everything you're learning. Of course, there's additional things that you can add to the program and supplement with, but it's not necessary. So it's a way of making it really affordable for families, but still adaptable to be used however you want to. The best way to retain math facts, that's your biggest hurdle. You practice and practice, and she just can't remember. That's our warning, you guys, 5 minutes. And actually, I'm gonna use this as our warning that in 5 minutes, I'm gonna wrap this up, because I think I have been droning for quite some time. Yes, it's been an hour, you guys. You've stuck with me for an hour. If you have been here since the beginning, you're amazing, gold star. So the best way to retain math facts are these, which again is built into the program. It will tell you to work on your math flashcards, your right-brained flashcards, where you're combining the logical concept with the creative, which is helping your whole brain to see it, as well as you're kinesthetically creating and you're drawing and you're seeing visually. So it builds in, and then you're reading it to yourself. You're reading the story, or you're reading the 7 + 2 = 9. So it's all these connection points helping you to retain and master and learn that very quickly, because you're engaging all of your senses. The best way are these math flashcards. If they're struggling with multiplication, do these. If they're struggling with division, do these. They are the best way to retain math facts when they can be engaged and part of it. It's time consuming. Take your time, add it to every day of your math. Say, okay, we're gonna do 2 or 3 of these a day, so it's not too much. And we're just gonna continually add to it, and then every day build in time working through your flashcards. Spend less time doing this and more time doing this. If your child is struggling, you're wondering about reinforcing, helping them where there are gaps, and you're continuing to learn new concepts, you can either slow down on the math that you're doing or continue with that, but also do these, which is built into the programs. You should be doing it all. And if you're not, and your child has gaps, it might be worth adding them. It's a worthwhile time investment. It really is, because it's gonna help them master these concepts. And it's just a little bit a day. Don't overwhelm them. A little bit, 5 minutes with your math flashcards. I want you to flip them around and teach them to your brother. 5 minutes, we're gonna work on our flashcards today and add some new ones that we learned or that you're struggling with. Level 6 is geared to what age group? Middle school age. Level 6 would be about grade 6 level. The reason that we're not boxing it in with grades is because every child is different and there's gaps, and you want to go back. If your child has gaps, if you're taking that placement test and you're mostly ready for this but not quite, always better to go back. Always, hands down. It's going to build their confidence and bring them an enjoyment in that subject. And they can whip through it fast if they want to. And if most of it they get, it's going to help them enjoy it a lot more. So that when they move on, they're ready for it and they don't have a bad taste in their mouth when they're considering that subject. Won't they get bored by going back? Again, dependent on your child, because it's not 50 pages, I'm exaggerating, of math that they would be doing in a day. It's a couple pages. I would say likely no. Most kids are going to go through it and say, wow, 2 pages of this, and they whip through it really, really fast, and then they're going to hit something that they kind of struggle with, and they'll take they'll have to take more time with. But you can also skip. You could skip to where it seems appropriate. And I did that with my daughter, who we started a new math book because she fully had understood everything in hers. but we skipped all the beginning because we were starting in the middle of the year and we weren't doing a summer break. We didn't need to do all the review. So we skipped all the review and we went right into the new stuff. So adapt it. Make it work for your family. All right, that's it. That is all the information that I can possibly give you in a short amount of time. We could talk all day about this, and hopefully sometime soon, Angela and I can do a Zoom or a webinar about this where we can talk from the experience of author and homeschool mom, and bring it all together for you guys and answer some of these questions in a different format where you can see both our faces and hear both of our voices. So that's it. That's all I have for you. Have an amazing homeschool day, and I hope to see you guys again whenever I go live next. Stay tuned. Watch my page.